Right, so we're here with six-time Mr Olympia winner Dorian Yates at BodyPower. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, mate. It's been a very busy day, but yeah, it's all good. Meeting everybody, getting the feedback is great. Yeah.
Good, glad to hear. So I'm sure it's a stark contrast from when you first started bodybuilding in the early 80s. Can you tell us about how you got into bodybuilding and why you chose the sport?
Well, it was like a slow process. Goes way back to when I was about 16 years old. I was doing karate, and a couple of mates of mine had a few weights in the kitchen. I think they stole from the local sports centre or something. Anyway, we started doing that, and then we picked up a magazine, Joe Weider's magazine, which was called Muscle Builder at the time. Then there was no Flex magazine, just Muscle Builder, and I saw this guy in there, Robbie Robinson, who was, he had little dreadlocks. He had a ripped up shirt and had this amazing physique, and something about that guy, because he was not the other bodybuilders. Yeah, it was cool, but they seemed a bit boring. This guy seemed like he was a rebel, and we could relate to this guy. He was different. So that was the first bodybuilder I saw that captured my interest. And me and a mate, after school, we went into the centre of Birmingham, looking around, trying to find a gym where we could do this bodybuilding. Yeah, and there was hardly any gyms around anywhere. Yeah, and we found this little gym on Temple Street in Birmingham, and it was actually a kung fu gym. Bruce Lee and a kung fu was very big at the time, and they had a small room that was weights, but it was real. It was like old school, rusty, hardcore weights, and something approaching a proper bodybuilders in there, So I started doing a bit of training there, and I was really developing quite well, just in my last year at school, And then
How old was that?
I was 16. I was living with my mum, and she decided to leave Birmingham, and I said I didn't want to go. So basically at 16 years old, I was out, and I was, living at my mates and stuff like that. So I had to forget about this whole bodybuilding thing. I was just trying to survive, basically. 18 years old, I got myself in a bit of trouble. It wasn't anything serious, but I got sent to a detention centre for a few months, and in there they had weights, and it was a very strict regime, like military type discipline, trying to straighten us out, I suppose. And I did the weights, and there was a few hundred guys in there, and it was quite obviously that I had the best physique out of all these few hundred guys, and I was also probably one of the strongest guys in there, and I got a lot of respect from all the other guys in there. Nobody wanted to mess with me. Even the officers showed some degree of respect to me, and the guys that were in the gym were very impressed, and they encouraged me to do something with it when I got out. They told me I should do powerlifting. But I already got this bodybuilding thing that I was interested in. I wasn't interested in powerlifting. I liked the physique look. So once I got myself a job, and I got myself in a council flat in Castle Vale in Birmingham. Anyone from Birmingham knows Castle Vale, big tower blocks. Wasn't the greatest place for most people to live, but it was all right for me. And I said, right, I'm going to do this bodybuilding. And before I'm going to do it, I'm going to study nutrition, and I'm going to read about training. I'm going to learn as much as I can, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it properly. And that's what I'm going to do, because I wanted to change my life.
So you decided you wanted to compete then?
I decided I wanted to compete. I didn't think, I want to be Mr Olympia. Maybe right in the back of my mind, you got this dream because I'm reading the magazines, but it was just something I could do. I knew it was going to improve my life. It was something positive to put my energy into. From my background and the people that I knew, you're either in a dead-end job, the people I knew, or they're in jail, in and out of jail, something like that. That was what was ahead of me. So I had no real education. I had no family around me. I knew this was going to lead somewhere, but I didn't know really where. And very quickly, of course, as a competitive bodybuilder, I made a huge impact. Did my first contest after a year and a half training, and I was told I was probably I went in a novice class, but the people were there so impressed with me that when I got off the stage, I was surrounded by the officials, and one of the guys there, he was called Ron Davis, who's passed away now, but he was the head of the EFBB, he was also a judge at the Mr Olympia, so this guy knows what he's talking about, yeah? And he told me I was probably the best heavyweight bodybuilder in the country, right there. And you know, you got guys that have been training forever, you know, so they persuaded me to compete in the World Games, which is a World Championship level, the following weekend. So I was in a novice contest and then a World Championship the next weekend. I didn't win the World Championship, obviously, but I got 7th place out of 13 or 14. So, yeah, I finished in the middle, but I didn't like that.
No.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that I didn't win. I didn't like that I wasn't fully prepared to be at that level of competition. So I swore from that point on, if I go for a competition, I'm going to be ready and I'm going to be competitive to win the thing. Yeah, I'm not there to make up the numbers. Otherwise, what's the point? That was my attitude. And 1986, I won the British Championships. 1987, I remember winning the British Championship 1986, you know. It was a big thing, and then bodybuilding was very popular, competitive bodybuilding, and to be a British champion was, you know, it was an accolade, it was a high achievement. But I went home to my flat in Castle Vale, where I had no carpet on the floor. I was sleeping on a mattress. I had no car. I was just using all my money, catching a bus to the gym, going to work, paying my food. That was my life, you know. I had nothing, but I was happy because I was chasing this dream, you know, and I was doing what I loved. So, because I was British champion, somebody offered to back me in opening a gym. Yeah. They put the money up if I ran the gym, and you know, we split the profits, kind of thing, which was great. That really gave me a leg up. Yeah. I was even able to buy a car, an old Ford Cortina, you know, to go to the gym in. So 1988, I went back to the British Championship. I won the heavyweight, the overall, the whole thing, and then I started to get, you know, people saying this guy really is possibly a professional, you know, in the making. I took 2 years off because I wanted to give this a real shot at being a professional, and I really put everything into it. I more or less, you know, kind of like cut myself off from my friends that were doing other things, going out and stuff like that, because I couldn't do that. Yeah. So I became quite isolated and just training, eating, almost like a monk-like existence, you know. Because I wanted to be realistic. If I could be a good professional, or if I couldn't. So I gave it everything I had, and I said to myself, if I don't place in the top 5 of my first pro show, I'm going to forget about this competitive bodybuilding. I've already got a gym, I'm making some money. Maybe I'll open another gym, I'll do something, yeah, with what I've already achieved, you know. But fortunately, I got second in my first pro show in New York, which was a Night of Champions, which was a massive achievement for really totally unknown. And I was told before I went there by many people that I wouldn't place well, just because I didn't have any publicity, just because I didn't know the judges and I didn't know anybody and all this stuff and the politics, blah, blah, blah. I really didn't listen to it. I just thought if I'm good enough, you know, really good enough, they can't like hide you away, you know, like, so I got a very close second to Mohammed Aziza. Joe Weider was there. He offered to fly me out to California, Venice Beach, Gold's Gym. I got my first front cover on Flex magazine, and you know, it went from there. Next year I went to Night Champions, won the show outright, and that was a qualification, and went to my first Mr Olympia, and went to compete against somebody that was an idol of mine when I started, Lee Haney. So I had to change my whole mental outlook from putting the guy on a pedestal to saying I'm going to try and kick his ass, you know. So that was challenging, but by the time I got there I was very prepared to try and beat him, you know. All my training for all my contests were done in Temple Gym, Temple Street, Birmingham, and you know, I kind of rewrote the book because previous to that all the champions were Americans. Most of them trained out in California with the sunshine and the beach and everything, but I think it was great for the sport because I feel that I represented the majority of the people that were in the gym, the majority of the people that were bodybuilding, that were fans, that were competing. They weren't living in California, they're living and working class guys, working out in the gym and having this dream. So I think the fact that I was successful a lot of these guys could really relate to me. Whereas maybe like Sean Ray and Flex Wheeler and these guys that were living the dream out in California, you know, what's that got to do with a guy in London or Birmingham or you know, back streets of New York, New Jersey, or somewhere like that, where all the guys are coming from. So I think that in part explained my massive popularity at the time, you know.
Well, you answered quite a lot of my questions that I had lined up for you there. But then where did your kind of training philosophy stem from? Was that from magazines? You said you were doing a lot of research. When did that come about? Have you always trained that way?
Well, I pretty much had every magazine from when I started. I even had magazines before I started because people gave me their old collection of Ironmans and things like that. So I read everything. And then I applied it in the gym, and I noticed very quickly, and a big influence on me, of course, was Mike Mensa with his heavy duty system, and Arthur Jones of the Nautilus machines and so on. And what they were saying and how they were explaining it, that the intensity of the exercise is a key factor to stimulating growth, and then after that you must recover from the exercise and so on. And I noticed if I did too much in the gym, or if I trained too often, my gains would come to a halt, and then more or less the less I did, the faster I grew, you know. And I was very, I had a great pride in my ability to exert myself in a gym. For me, bodybuilding was all about, all right, it's great that I made a living from it and everything, and I was a Mr Olympia, but it was almost like self-mastery, you know, that I could overcome you know, the pain. I could overcome the desire to eat when you're hungry and all these things. And for me, that's what it's all about, you know. And I think the sport's lost that a little bit now, perhaps, you know.
Yeah. Especially with a lot of guys now using like prep coaches and gurus, things like that. So you and a lot of the guys from the 90s didn't tend to use that. Have you got any views on that? Have you ever thought of becoming a guru yourself?
I don't want to become a guru at all. I do give advice to people, and mainly I just like to train with people in the gym sometimes, because my standards of application and what you would do getting ready for a contest, not a lot of people want to do that, so if I work with people that don't want to give 100%, I tend to get very frustrated. So I'd rather just go in the gym and do the training with them. Contest prep, I'm not really interested in that. And bodybuilding appealed to me because I'm very much an individual. You know, I left home at 16. I was living out on the street. I was living at friends' houses. Eventually got an apartment, and I just built my life just on hard work. And the appeal of bodybuilding was that it was an individual effort. You know, perhaps I felt that people had let me down when in my childhood and stuff like that. I couldn't actually wait to grow up to try and take control of my own life. So bodybuilding was a total individual effort for me. I had to study nutrition. I had to study the best way to train. I had to bloody do the training. I had to do the diet, So when I got on stage, although I had, you know, later on, I had my girlfriend and then wife and everything, that would give me support. You've got some people to support you, but they can't do it for you. You've got to do it, So on the stage, win or lose, that was me, and you know, I proved that what I was doing was correct because I was winning all the time.
So coming away from the bodybuilding career, obviously you've launched the Dorian Yates nutrition products now. The way that you've kind of pushed yourself in that respect, so you've taken control of your own destiny, has that translated into the nutritional products as well?
Absolutely. You know, I've worked with other companies before. When I was Mr Olympia, I was an endorsee for Weeder Company, and then I worked with another company I don't want to mention, but I was never in control of things, and that was very frustrating for me because I was in control of my whole life since I was 16 years old, and now I wasn't in control of my name and what was being used in my name, what was being said in my name. Often I didn't agree with it, so I wanted to be in control of the nutrition company. So everything you see about DY, right from the label design to the colour to obviously the product that's in there, that's all me, that's Dorian Yates. I'm the owner of the company, there's nobody else. I've got people working with me, people working for me, but this is my company. So now I feel again like, you know, I'm in control of everything and I'm on top of the world,
Fantastic. Well, That's the last question. So thanks for spending some time with us at PowerBody stand. Great to meet you, Dorian.
Thanks for doing a great job.
No worries.
DY supplements, PowerBody, that's where you can get them.
PowerBody.co.uk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, mate.